Hey everybody, I'm Trish Christ. In this episode of Our Nashville, NECAT and our super crew of teenagers spend some time with Nashville Civic Design Center. CEO Gary Gaston and Education Manager Melody Gibson are going to show and tell us about all the cool things they do in our community.
We're so excited to have you join us today.
Great.
Let's go see.
Let's do.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville!
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
We're a nonprofit that's focused on improving the Nashville, the city of Nashville through engaging the public and city in community-based design projects. And you can be involved in creating a better community for your neighborhood.
Design Your Neighborhood is it's a youth education program that invests young people in how the world is built around them, and we educate them through or using design as a means of problem solving in communities. And so we're giving students, kind of the tools and the language to understand issues in their community, how to solve them, and then also how to advocate for them. So they're an important youth voice in their community.
So a really easy first question for you, my friend. What is civic design?
Civic design is looking at the design of our cities and our communities through the eye of community participation and involvement. And so maybe historically design has been much more hierarchical, top-down approach. This idea of civic design is how do you get the citizens and residents of a community and a neighborhood involved in the decision-making process of the design process.
Tell me how the Civic Design Center came to pass.
Yeah. We were organized in 2000 and opened our doors in 2001, and our mission is to focus on improving quality of life issues for Nashvillians through a focus on the built environment. And when we say built environment, we mean everything that we interact with and touch on a daily basis as residents of this place. So when you wake up in the morning in your home and you go out throughout the course of the day, you are interacting with sidewalks and streets and other people. You're going into work or to school. The way that you get there, whether that's in a car or on a bicycle or on public transit, the types of food you have access to, the parks and public spaces that you can go to, all of those are aspects of the built environment. So our mission is to really try to elevate the conversation about good quality design so that it can have a positive impact on people as they're living everyday life.
Is it fair to say that historically the decision makers in terms of civic design have been a limited group of people, a limited demographic? And that to best solve usage problems, to have more of the users involved in the decision making is your goal?
Yes, absolutely. And a major part of our mission statement is to get citizen participants and activists in that. So public meetings where you can go and attend and not only have a voice for whether you like a project or not, but how do you go deeper than that and actually engage the community up front in the design process so that their voices can be reflected even before the design's already done, not on the back side of the design, but on the sort of front end of it as well. And I've seen that so many times throughout my time at the Design Center on how a project is made so much better because that attention and time was given at the front of the process. And also the byproduct of that is the community takes ownership of it and really helps actually implement the project and make it happen, because there is that feeling of ownership and pride in the process.
There are a lot of players involved in this game of civic design. Is it the responsibility of government and business and nonprofits like Civic Design Center? Who bears the weight of making these big decisions?
I think it's a shared responsibility amongst all of those entities, and again, the public as a component of that. We see, I think Nashville has been very lucky and has had strong leadership in its government. There's a strong respect here and mutual respect, I think, for the government and the public, that they want to work together. It's not always the case in some cities. So we're lucky to have that. And I think it's also something that's made us become the successful place that we are now, that we have the city working with a nonprofit like the Civic Design Center and all the other nonprofits that are doing great work, departments that are very much engaged with and want to have the community involved in those processes.
So if a viewer is watching right now and has an observation about their neighborhood or some aspect of the city, the built environment in the city, and they want to share that with a decision maker or a player in this space, what do they do? From an aspect of our organization, we actually have our action arm is called Turbo Nashville, Tactical Urbanism Organizers. So that's a way that someone, if they really wanted to get involved and engaged, they could actually do a project like that in a neighborhood that's doing something about it. I think there's all levels and forms of participation, so that might be a little bit too much for someone. I don't know. My friend thinks he can solve the Green Hills traffic pattern.
Yeah,
so I just need to know who to point him at.
Well, I mean, from attending community meetings with the planning department or the public works department to discuss all of these different types of issues that are happening, that's sort of like how do you get the policy level change down to the sort of fine level of like maybe you want to do your neighborhood group wants to do an actual individual project that you think could make a really short-term immediate change. And that's something that we've been working with closely with the city on this idea of tactical urbanism. How do you go in and change something low cost, cheaply, experiment and show what it could be, and then allow that to inform a real infrastructure project that maybe costs a lot more money that could come along a little later and make that a long-term change.
That's great. Tell us about the Nashville Design Project.
The Design Your Neighborhood project?
Yes.
This came about early on in the Design Center. We were involved in some youth programs in partnership with the Oasis Center that had a youth leadership program, and this was when we were doing our Plan of Nashville, which was a community-based urban design plan for the downtown and surrounding urban neighborhoods back in 2002 through 2004. And it started as an exercise with about 40 high school students on asking them to design a neighborhood. And this was the industrial area of the riverfront, the East Bank, that we are all familiar with now and wanting to see some more things happen there. And so we just asked the students, hey, here's some basic information about how do you design a neighborhood? Just, streets and access to food and transportation. But here's your chance to kind of take this and run with it. And there were teams that the students were divided into. And they just got so excited about it, and because they had never been asked really before what they'd like to see happen in a neighborhood. We just, I think at that point, just didn't engage the community very well, especially at even a younger level in schools. So the feedback that we got from these programs, that we did this 2 years in a row with Oasis, was that was the most impactful things the students identified in the survey that they had experienced. So we were fortunate enough to receive funding to scale up that Design Your Neighborhood idea to curriculum where we would engage with schools in Nashville for this program.
And an ongoing, more in-depth...
an ongoing, not only just a summer component, but in classes, in schools, teaching about civic engagement and participatory planning and design excellence, and also having a component where there's an actual project that students identify for their neighborhoods. Cool. And they can be the decision-making process for what they'd like to see happen, because we know that there are basic principles of good quality design, but you always need that local component to looking at an individual neighborhood, because each neighborhood is going to have its own unique differences and challenges and opportunities.
Melody, it's so fun to get to talk to you about your work. And I want to start with a really simple question for you. What is civic design?
So it would mostly be what we would call design of the built environment. So just the environment that that's been built that we all experience. So kind of the public realm of that. So like our streets, our transportation, the way our parks are laid out, our buildings and the architecture of those. So our built environment that the public experiences would be what civic design works with.
Tell me about your work with young people.
So the work I do with young people, that's our education initiative called Design Your Neighborhood. And so so it's intended to invest young people in how the world is built around them. So we teach design as a means of problem solving in their communities. So through that design thinking process and problem solving process that we teach, youth end up with this new kind of toolbox, so this vocabulary and this language and this lens of being able to understand their community in a new light, and ultimately recognizing issues that they wouldn't have otherwise known about, and not just what the issues are, but solutions to those and how to advocate for change. So, you know, we're empowering and awakening youth to the power of design.
It's a field that would never have occurred to me as a teenager, and it's also a field that I think I would have responded really positively to had someone walked into my high school and said, do you know what this is? Do you want to think about this with us? I would have totally been into that. Can you give us some examples maybe of a neighborhood project that young people have put their brains to in your program?
We like the projects to be as youth-driven as possible. So we had a class go out, and they're in the Chestnut Hill neighborhood. So they went out and made observations and learned some basic principles of design, and they recognized, you know, there's all of this new construction going on in my neighborhood, and just dove into like, why is that, like, why are houses being torn down and why are different ones being put up, and wait a second, that's happening in the next neighborhood too, and my grandma's neighborhood, and just really kind of opened their eyes to how Nashville is rapidly developing, and how a lot of that for that demographic of students involved displacement. And they also noticed, you know, while Chestnut Hill is a fairly walkable neighborhood in comparison, there were some key, and they wouldn't have noticed this without walking around, but they noticed there were some key places where it was dangerous to walk from like the school to the park, or from their school to the nearest food resource.
For traffic reasons.
For traffic reasons, and just things like massive holes in the sidewalks, or crosswalks. So areas where crosswalks would have been really helpful, and they would have had to like go way out of their way to get there. So that turned into an awareness event that the entire 9th grade planned. So just awareness for the community of what the issues were that, or what they felt, you know, they were concerned issues were about going on in terms of affordable housing and walkability. And they told community member stories, they proposed solutions, had some council members come, and problem solved. So like one of the solutions was solar panel sidewalks. You know, this can be a sustainable thing that we can put in our community that can give us a nice sturdy sidewalk and give back to the community too, in terms of energy, and you know, kind of seeing that as an investment. Like, this is a way to invest in our community to start seeing some return in terms of, you know, of energy.
So you mentioned that you work with teachers who use curriculum in the classrooms related to the projects that you then can expand on with students outside of the fact. Tell us what sort of things, what's in a lesson, what's in a school lesson like that?
I think the one of them that we see kind of a lot of the light bulbs go off in kids is the neighborhood walk. So we have students go out and walk around their school's neighborhood, so somewhere that they've, seen and experienced and driven through maybe thousands of times, but we take them through, something they know really well and have them observe kind of with a new set of eyes. So instead of just how do I get from point A to point B, they're observing and recording their surroundings in what we call the built environment categories. So like walkability and parks and building types. They're recording the physical elements of their neighborhood through a lens of how does this impact my experience. So when we're observing walkability, we also stop and say, well, how did that feel to walk across the street? Is this a good, is this a place where we need a sidewalk? Is this a place where we need a crosswalk because of the experience that you're having right now? Like, you decide that because you have an experience and you don't have to have a design degree to understand, what makes a quality experience in a community.
My name's Lisette Garza. I became in contact with the Civic Design Center when I came to Lead Academy to teach freshman seminar. And some of the things that I really wanted kids to be able to take away from freshman seminar were starting to think about the community, starting to think about their role within their community and what it means to be a citizen and what it means to be able to have access to different things. So as I kind of got together my syllabus and some of the things that I wanted to teach, it matched really closely to what a lot of the civic design curriculum would be able to bring. The curriculum allows students to start exploring the impact of design, and kind of one of the essential question I would say is, how do you shape your community and how does your community shape you? But we started by, I would say, looking at different types of neighborhoods, what makes up a neighborhood, different types of urban planning that happens in the types of neighborhoods that we have, and what some of those issues can be because of those types of neighborhoods and some of the development. We also looked at affordability in Nashville, so we didn't just look at the design aspect, but we looked at how has design impacted development, cost of living and affordability as well in the city. And a lot of these things felt very real to my kids because they could give me exact examples of what that looked like for them. So as we started talking about these issues, it became very personal for them because they were able to see what effects those things look like. And a lot of times what I told the kids is this curriculum just gives you the language to express things that you're already seeing. So these are issues that you understand, that you're seeing and that you're living, but so many times as young adults, even as adults in the community, we don't have the language or the technical term to what is that called, development, gentrification, and the different types of housing. So that's some of what the curriculum did and explored.
My name is Mina Gamil. When I was in freshman seminar, we were looking on ways to make our community better, and especially the community around us. So the community around my school is not thought after, and nobody's looking after it. The community people are they're not investing money into it. There's sidewalks that haven't been rebuilt or safe for people to walk on. There isn't what's it called? There isn't crosswalks, there isn't cross lights, if somebody's trying to walk across the street, it's really unsafe. And some stuff that happens around the neighborhoods, gentrification, a lot of new houses are coming in, taking out the history in the neighborhood, which we should keep in the neighborhood. The favorite exercises was presenting, setting up our presentations, talking to people, getting to learn and find out more about the community, learning how other countries and other states are developing and ways that they've started using technology and different things. So we looked at New Zealand and their paths, their bike paths, that are solar panel. We looked at New York with lights and designs that they have to make their city beautiful. And we were trying to put that in Nashville, in our community. The hardest thing is the way people act to change, because not everybody takes change the same way. People might like it, people might not like it. You don't know if the people in that community will accept it, or people in the same community will, some will accept it and some won't. There will be problems if that happens, so that's one of the hardest things, like to make everybody happy.
So I'm Angie Emery Henderson. So I have long been a member of Nashville Civic Design Center. Way back when in college, I majored in something called Growth and Structure of Cities. And so I had always been fascinated by Nashville's built environment. And then now as a councilwoman, it's been my pleasure to volunteer with them and their work in the schools. So I think it's crucial for young people to understand their built environment. So this is where you operate every day, whether you're a young person, you're driving, or you're just a young person riding in the car, walking, biking, and the pattern of your city, the form of your city, really does shape your life, and how you get to the activities that you do, and where you are able to live, where you choose to live. Where you go to school, and so the form of your city is important to understand. Well, I was fortunate to attend a school in my district recently, Harpeth Hall School. They have a winterim program. Young women, I had been given a challenge to look at a transportation center in Green Hills. So it was our pleasure to be there to see their final projects and be a part of the team with Nashville Civic Design Center staff that was giving them some feedback.
I first got involved with the Nashville Civic Design Center. I was a participant in their Design Your Neighborhood program. I believe it was summer of 2011. But throughout the summer program, I was going into my junior year of high school, and I wanted to just get involved in a program that would introduce me to all aspects of design. So we were able to see filmmaking, architecture, interior design, urban design, and being able to be involved in that. We also were able to design a park, which is awesome, being able to drive by it in your neighborhood or close to where I went to high school and see something that I was involved in. And I feel as though that highlighted or set a fire in me to really tap into my talents that I do have with art and design and creative and craft making. And so kind of set forth my journey into architecture and what I'm doing now. I can honestly say Design Your Neighborhood really unleashed, I guess, my inner lioness to go and explore more of like the creative atmosphere, design, the world. It's unlocked a lot within me.
My name is Fuller Hannon. So at the Civic Design Center, I am the community development manager, meaning I kind of play a part in facilitating discussions between metro agencies, public and private developers, and the community to make sure that projects and designs have the community as part of the conversation. Good design is certainly a partnership of public developers and private citizens and metro agencies, as well as neighborhood groups, and there has to be someone that can help convene those partners, and that's really where the Civic Design Center comes into play. And Nashville is really unique as a city for having an organization like this at the table. Over the past year, my work as community development manager overlapping with the Design Your Neighborhood program, I think, has really made for a richer product from in both bodies of work. And I think that collaboration is a true testament to the organization, the flexibility of the organization, and the adaptability of the organization.
So you know that PEG channels like NECAT, by federal law, we're prohibited from seeking donations on behalf of another nonprofit. And of course, every nonprofit needs donations, but other than funding, what could someone who's watching us chat right now who thinks, this is cool, I want to support this endeavor, how can they further your work?
If it's something that you want your children or your local schools, the school in your neighborhood, then just speaking up for that. And then also we're going to need a lot of volunteers this year in classrooms. So if,
that sounds fun,
helping students with their projects. So if anyone can reach out to us on our website if they want to volunteer in a classroom with projects and students. It's open to anybody. We have trainings open to any teacher, classroom support open to any school. So.
one more segment for you, and it's super short and fast, and it's hopefully a lot of fun. It's called the speed round, and it's just like the game we played when we were kids. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to just let fly the first answer that comes to your mind, okay? No wrong answers here. Here we go. Speed round with Melody Gibson. Speed round with Gary Gaston. Name an element of civic design that matters more today than in 1980.
Walkability.
Community engagement.
What comes first, the city or the design?
The city.
The city, usually.
What word do you say more than any other word working with teens?
Design.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What word do you say more than any other word at work?
Opportunities.
Ooh. What's the best thing about your job?
Getting to see the aha moments in students.
The people.
What's the hardest thing about your job?
Writing grants, to
Fair
be
enough.
honest.
Fair enough. Yes, yes.
Funding.
And last of all, what is your website?
civicdesigncenter.org.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. This is great.
It's great. Thank you. Thank you, Melody.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Es nuestro Nashville.